What's up everyone? In today's video we're going to be going over how you can reset a user's password using React Native and Expo. So let's get started. So here I am in the back end of my code. I'm going to go to my user file and I'm going to be creating a new function called forgot password. Within it we are going to expect an email as the input. So let's go create that structure. So for that, we are just going to be expecting a field called email, and it needs to be required. Now, if the passed in email field is valid, then let's check and see if that email is associated with a user. And if we get an error during that process, we'll just send out that we got an internal server error. And if the user doesn't exist, we'll send out a status code of 401 saying that we have an invalid email. Now, if the user does exist, we need to make sure that they did not create their account using a social platform. And if we get below this code, then we need to send the user an email. So I'll show you guys how you can do that. So for sending emails, I'm going to use this service called MailJet. Here is the pricing plan. So you get 200 emails per day for free. And then if you want to add emails, this is going to be the cost. So let's go ahead and click get started. And I'm going to set up a new account here. Here I'll just fill out this form. Now here I'm going to pick developer. So here we'll choose API, then click continue. And here for our coding language, we'll use Go. Now let's copy this. Navigate to your server code and then paste it. Now I'm going to copy this code. And I'm just going to paste it underneath this main function. And I'm just going to comment it out. Alright, so here on our dashboard, we're going to go to our name. Then go to your master account. And then click on this cogwheel. And here you will see your API key. So you're going to want to add this and generate a secret key and add that to your .env file within your server. So go ahead and do that. So in my .env file, I added these fields and then added the subsequent keys to the values for each of these variables. Alright, so with that all set up, let's create a new file within our utils here. It's going to be called mail.go. And let's just specify the package real quick. And within this, we will create a function called sendMail. It's going to take in a user email, subject, and HTML. And those will all be strings. And it's going to return a Boolean and an error. Now copy over this MailJet code from your main file. And paste it in the function. And then let's import MailJet. Alright, so here for the HTML part, let's get rid of this and then put in our HTML that's getting passed into the function. For the text part, we're just going to get rid of that. For the subject, we will change that. Custom ID we can get rid of. And we can get rid of the name and the from and to objects. And for this to email, we need to change this to our user email. And we'll save that. Now here, instead of passing in these strings, we are going to get our environment variables. So we are going to be using the OS package for that. And we need to get our email API key and the email secret key. and then pass these into the Mailjet client. So this is going to be the public key, and this second one will be the private key. And then down here, instead of logging this, let's just return false and the error. Otherwise, we will return true and nil. And here, since we're not using res, we'll just put an underscore. All right, so with that added, let's go back to our user file and back to our forgot password function. So the first thing that we'll do here is create a new variable called link, and we need to create a deep link into our app. And in order to do that, we need to see where our app is being hosted. So I ran Expo start earlier, and here you can see where it is being hosted. So we need to copy this, and here link will be equal to exp:// the IP address followed by port 19,000, and then we will follow that with a slash, 2 dashes, and another slash, and then here we need to specify the screen. And I believe that in production this would be the name of your app, but since we're in development, this is what it needs to be. So here we need to go to the reset password screen with this link, so I'm just going to say reset password. And now we are going to head over to our client code or the app code and then set up our deep linking. So go there and navigate to linking configuration, and you should have something like this. First thing we need to do is get rid of this and say create URL, and then we can get rid of all of these screens in root, so tab 1 and tab 2. And you can get rid of modal and not found. Now within our root screens, we will specify the search screen, the saved screen, and the account screen. And on the same level as root here, we'll create the values for find locations, forgot password, message, property details, reset password, sign in, and sign up. And really the only one that is relevant for this video is reset password. And doing this pretty much just allows us to create a link, and whenever the user presses on that link, it will take them to a specific screen. So with that done, let's go back to our server code. And at the end of this link, we would like to append a token, which will be specific to the user, and it will allow the user about 10 minutes or whatever time frame you deem necessary. It'll allow them to reset their password within that, but if they go over it, they will have to get another email and another token. So let's go ahead and create a new utility for that. We'll call it tokens.go. First we'll specify the package, which is just utils. Then we'll create this function called create forgot password token. It's going to take in the user's ID and their email, and it will return a string and an error. And within it, let's specify what the JWT is going to look like, or the data that it's going to contain. And that's just going to be the ID and the email. Now in this function, we're going to create a JWT, and whenever you're doing that, you need a secret on your server. So I'm going to go to generate a base 64 string and use that as a secret. So I just went to a base 64 generator. I'm going to make the length in bytes 64 and then just click generate, and then copy this and add it to my .env file. And I added it under the variable name email underscore token underscore secret. Now back in tokens, we'll create a new signer, and we need to import JWT from Iris. And it looks like I need to get this package. And we'll also import OS and time. Now underneath our signer, we need to create the claims for the token, and then we will generate the token. And if an error occurs, we will just return an empty string and the error, and then we will return our stringified token along with nil. Now let's navigate back to our forgot password function, then generate the token, and if we get an error, we'll just send the user that we got an internal server error. Otherwise, we will append the token to the end of the link. And here, for our link, let's add a slash after the forgot password. Now let's create the subject and HTML for our email. So the subject is just going to be forgot your password ? And the HTML, make sure to wrap this in backticks, and pretty much it's just going to be saying, look, you forgot your password, you hit reset it, click this link to reset it. And now let's call our send mail function, passing in the email, subject, and HTML. And if we get an error during that process, we'll create an internal server error and send that off to the client. And if the email was sent successfully, we will send to the user email sent is true. And if it was not successful, then we will say that email sent was false. Now let's go back to main.go and register this route. So here we'll say user.post forgot password, and then it'll be routes.forgot password. Now I'm going to start up my server and then go over to the app code. Alright, it looks like I've got some type of error here. I'm just going to run go mod tidy and see what the deal is. Alright, that should fix it. And now I'm going to just run my server and then head over to the app code. Alright, so here I am on the forgot password screen. I need to make some changes. First off, I'm going to just get rid of navigation here since we aren't going to be using it. And I'm going to import use mutation from React Query. I'm also going to import Axios and import loading and endpoints. And speaking of endpoints, let's go add our forgot password endpoint. So here we'll say forgot password will be user endpoint plus slash forgot password. And that's all lowercase. Now here in forgot password, we'll create a new mutation called forgot password, and it will take in an email, which is a string, and it will return a post request to our forgot password endpoint, passing in the email. And on success, we would like to set email sent to true. And in the case of an error, we will alert whatever the server responds to us with. And we can actually just get rid of these other variables. Now here where it says on submit, let's change this to get rid of the set email sent and the logging to the console. So now we will call forgot password.mutate and pass in values.email. And whenever this is loading, we would like to display a loading screen. So here underneath it, we'll say if forgot password dot is loading, return a loading component. And now let's check it out and see how it works. So first, I'm just going to input an invalid user email. So we'll just say y@v.com, and let's continue, and undefined, okay. So that gave us an alert saying undefined, which means that the route was not defined, and I just forgot to add this slash here. So now I'm going to restart the server and try it again. So here we'll go back, say y@v.com and continue, and that's an invalid email. Now let's try a social login. So that's a social login account. And now let's try a valid email address. And an email was just sent. So I should be expecting an email soon. And there it is. So here we would like to click to reset. And now we get taken to our reset password screen. So now we need to handle the user actually resetting their password. So for this, let's go back to our server and let's go back into our user file. Now we'll create a new function called reset password. For this, we will just be expecting a password passed into it as the input. So this is what the type is going to look like. And then we'll make sure that that input is valid. And if it is, we'll hash the password. Then we'll use the claims from the JWT to update the user's password. And we need to import the JWT from Iris here. So we'll go back to our imports up top and we will import JSON WT as the alias for JWT from Iris. Now let's go back down to our reset password. And here at the end, we'll just say that password reset is true. Now we need to go back to main.go and create a verifier for this new endpoint that we'll create. So let's create the endpoint first, actually, or register it rather. So we'll say user.post reset password. And then here we'll say roots.reset password. And before this is where we are actually going to register some middleware to verify that the token is valid. And to create the verifier, we will just be calling the new verifier function, passing in the algorithm and the token secret. And then we'll call with default block list. And then we will create the verifier middleware. And here we'll pass in reset token verifier middleware. And now we'll just add these imports and utils. Now I'm going to restart the server. And then I'm going to head back to our app code and we'll go to our reset password screen. So I'm going to get rid of these unused imports here. And we'll do the same thing here, importing user mutation and Axios, then import loading and the endpoints. And let's go to our endpoints and add in reset password, which is just going to be user endpoint plus dash reset password. Now with this screen, we are going to be getting the token passed in through the parameters. So let's specify that here. Then we'll create our reset password mutation, which will just take in a password, which is a string, and it will return a post request to the reset password endpoint, passing in the password and some headers, which will just be the token. And on success, we will navigate back to sign in. And on error, if the error response is equal to 401, that would signify that it's an invalid or expired token. So we'll alert the user to that. Otherwise, we will just say that we're unable to reset the password. And if reset password is loading, we will return loading. And down here for on submit, let's change this to call reset password dot mutate, passing in the values dot password. All right. Now, if I try this, I'll probably get an expired token, so let's try it out. And there we go. So let's just go back and ask for another email. Alright, so now we'll try resetting this with a valid token. And we will reset it. And now let's go and sign in. Ampersand. So that's how you guys can reset your password using Go, Expo, and React Native. I hope that you found this video useful, and thank you for watching.